Brittany Flowers was in the courtroom every day during the trial, and she listened as the prosecutor and the defense attorney shared their reaction after hearing the news. She has given us some updates as well. Ken Kolker has been in the courtroom every day as well and has been talking with all of the players in this case.
Let's turn things over to Ken now and get his perspective on what's going on. Ken?
Sue and Teresa, it happened in this courtroom right behind me, the courtroom of Kent County Circuit Judge Christina Mims, who came out to say that the jury could not reach a decision on this, that they were hopelessly deadlocked and it wasn't going to go any further. Now, they had been deliberating for about 20 hours before today. So add an hour today, it was about 21 hours of deliberation. Now, in talking with the prosecutor, Chris Becker, just a few minutes ago in a press conference, he talked about the fact that he has actually talked to the jurors, and one of the issues they were grappling with that they couldn't get around was about the taser. Who had control of that taser? What kind of threat it might cause to Officer Christopher Schurr? And he said that was one of the hang-ups. Now, he has not yet decided whether he's going to retry this case. He talked about the fact that he's got to talk to the family. He's got to maybe talk more to the jurors before he decides whether to retry this second-degree murder case, which also had the charge of a possibility of manslaughter. Now, this is what he said just a few minutes ago at that press conference.
Obviously, this was not what happened today is not what anybody was expecting or wanted. We're hoping for a verdict, and I think the family, I don't know if they've talked here, but they're extremely disappointed, as am I. This was something we were hoping to get a conclusion. We thought we'd put a good case forward. Obviously, the jury thought differently. They were hung. I spent quite a bit of time talking with them. They're very open, and it's really a good jury. I mean, they paid attention. They took a lot of notes. They obviously were in there for a long period of time and took this case seriously. So this is, this happens. This happens quite a bit in general cases, but especially if you look across the country, there's a number of police-involved incidents where it ends up in a hung jury quite a bit. So we always knew that this was a possibility. It's a difficult case. This was not an easy case. This was not a simple case. So at this point in time, I'm sure the next question is, what am I going to do? Well, and I'm not going to make a decision right now. This is something I'm going to take some of the jurors obviously want to talk more. They may be reaching out, so I'm going to talk to them and take a look at everything, and I'll make a decision somewhere down the road. I'm not making a decision today.
Now, defense attorney Matt Borgula spoke to the jurors also. Now, he says that the majority of the jurors were actually looking to acquit Officer Schurr on both those counts, and he said there were just a few holdouts. He says he does not believe that Becker should retry this case. Now, here's what he had to say.
I do think they deliberated and thought about all the issues. It sounds like they listened closely. I thought it was a very good jury of people that were put in a very difficult situation. And so, they did their job. And sometimes this happens where you can't get 12 people off the street to agree as to a very important decision. So I thank them for all the work they did. Some of them were willing to talk to us. And so my sense is that they worked very hard to come to a conclusion, and sometimes you just can't.
Can you talk about the reaction from Christopher Schurr?
He's been living with this for 3 years. He obviously wanted some resolution. I think he felt that the jury took the time to deliberate. He appreciates that. He obviously wanted it to be done, but it's a hung jury. So I haven't had much chance, obviously, to talk to him yet because I've been talking to the jurors. So he'll probably have to reflect on it, as we all will, and as will Mr. Becker, on how we proceed next.
So the bottom line here is nobody is happy with this decision. Now, it's a matter of waiting for learning what Chris Becker will do with the possibility of a retrial. Live in Grand Rapids, Ken Kolker, News 8.
Ken, during the both of the attorneys talking here, the news conference, they talked about officer-created jeopardy. Matt Borgula talking about that very issue, and was the chase reasonable? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, Matt Borgula had objected to the use of that argument that what Christopher Schurr did at the beginning of that incident led to the shooting itself. Now, he's arguing that just because maybe you made some mistakes doesn't mean you lose the right to defend yourself. I mean, that's his argument. He hopes that that will not become part of the next trial. I think he talked about maybe going to the Court of Appeals to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right. So that's one nugget that we'll keep watching for sure. Ken Kolker reporting from the courthouse. Thanks, Ken, for the live update.
And the decision he gets on that could have implications for other cases
Absolutely.
as well. So that certainly will be interesting. We also heard from the Lyoya family through one of their attorneys, Van Johnson, and then they also spoke as well. But we have Brittany Flowers following that for us. Brittany, what reaction did we hear from the Lyoyas?
Well, we heard from Prosecutor Chris Becker, who said that he spoke with the Lyoya family. I haven't had a chance to listen to exactly what the Lyoya family had to say, but I can tell you that Prosecutor Chris Becker said that they were extremely disappointed. There was a question about public pressure and whether public pressure led Chris Becker to issue these charges in the first place. He said that that had nothing to do with his decision. We saw after the shooting lots of protests, people calling for Officer Schurr to be named and then calling for something to happen. So he said that public pressure did not change his opinion. He doesn't have any basically second thoughts about issuing these charges, but he did say that the Lyoya family is extremely disappointed. They held that press conference, their attorney Van Johnson holding that press conference shortly, a little bit of time ago. We want to listen to a bit of what they had to say.
Kwa kweli iko sawa, wanarudisha vidonda tena vinakuwa vipya.
It seemed like they reborn. We have a reborn of the wound and the image how my son was killed. He came back again.
Kuona kwa muda huu wa miaka mitatu tunasubiria ukweli wa kesi ya Patrick ya kuuawa.
To see that all these 3 years where we have been waiting for this case to be settled. Then we came here, we were fighting, and we get to the end. We thought that we were getting to the close of this case, and we we're going to get the justice. But we came to realize that it was a hung jury. They could not come to the agreement to condemn this guy or to find him guilty.
Yeah, so obviously difficult for them. As they mentioned, this has been a more than 3-year-long process, having to kind of relive this and figure out what's going to happen. So we'll have to continue to wait to see if there's a decision from the prosecutor whether or not to retry this case. So a continuation of that difficult process for all the families involved here. We'll send it back live to you.